watched any of my other videos where I maybe briefly mention like what my job is, I work in nonprofit and I actually work at a domestic violence shelter. And it's a very interesting job. It's unlike anything that I've ever done before. And I also work at a greenhouse part-time. Just until I think they said the first week of June. And then after that, I'm planning on just taking my days off for like probably the month of June and just like go to the pool and relax and like kind of treat that as a vacation. Maybe do that the whole summer or part of the summer and then get a different part-time job to supplement the hours of the domestic violence shelter, because there I only work like 32 hours a week, so it's not full-time. I feel like it does pay enough for me to pay my bills, but I don't have much excess after, so that's why I would need another job. So we will get into that a little bit, but this candle I wanted to report live. So this candle is from Target and I found this in the candle section, but it has the $3 sticker on it, so I'm assuming obviously it's from like that like little dollar section or whatever, $3 to $5 section. And it is the scent coconut vetiver. Coconut vetiver. And whenever I pick this up, it reminds me of the Waikiki Beach coconut from Bath and Body Works, which I know my friends like Krista and Lullaby Leah and Miss Lori Latte and other people really like that scent. So if any of you all are watching, this candle right here smells like a more sophisticated version of it. But it honestly smells like pretty much the same, which is nice. And it has that more masculine scent to it because it has the vetiver, and I know vetiver is used oftentimes in masculine fragrances. So I've been burning that, and it's so cute too. Like it matches my plants, which we love. And whenever it's gone, I'm planning on like putting this in the freezer. You know that trick, like you can put candles in the freezer to get the wax out. I think that's the best way to do it. I don't know, but I'll do that, and then I'll just use this as like a tea light candle like holder, I guess, because I have the tea light candles, but I don't want to just put them on my furniture anymore. I did that like 1 or 2 times. I like the way that it looks whenever the light like flashes around, whenever it's in a container, not just plain. So back to my job. I do want to make dedicated content to that specifically because my job is I'm an advocate. So like what is advocacy, what that entails, your task, things like that. Like I want to make a full video talking about it and make it more like an advice thing if anyone's interested in getting into the nonprofit world. Yeah. I feel like I can never focus whenever I'm like tapping on something and talking. But the job is a lot different than I thought. So right now I take crisis calls. I'll put this candle down so I can maybe focus. So I do take crisis calls whenever they come in, and the way that that works is they literally hit us up, we answer the phone, and it's 24-hour crisis line. So night shift will take it, whoever is on staff will take it. It's not like there's a set person that's in charge of crisis calls. It's just like everybody that works there with me. If you're near the phone or if someone's busy or whatever, you're gonna take the crisis line. So whenever we do that, we have to fill out this little form to get their like name, county information, things like that. If they're willing to share that information with us, it's helpful because then we can get them the right services, because we only serve a certain service area, which I'm assuming other shelters are like that too. It's not like a unique thing. But if we can get the person's county and things like that, then we know like where to refer them to if they're not in our service area. And we can try our best. We have like a little map that has the different shelters on it, like in the different areas of the state. So we could direct them there, or if they're from out of state, we can kind of tell them like, oh, find a shelter maybe closer to you, like blah blah blah. Like we can give as much help as we want to these people, or as much as we can. And of course, like we'll assess them over the phone if we do have availability within our shelter to see if they're like fit for the program, that they're experiencing what they're experiencing. A lot of the times though, people will lie, and that's the thing that I didn't really anticipate in this job, was that people, it's just a very like dishonest kind of thing, because people are going through shit, you know, there's trauma, there's a lot of hard stuff going on, there's a lot of people that have, we all have defense mechanisms. That's not a unique problem, but some people have like a very super duper strong defense mechanism, and that can come out in the form of like lying, or kind of anger issues, or there's just like a whole array of things that people could do, you know. So sometimes, you know, we'll take the call and they will simply just need a place to stay, but they're not actually experiencing any of these issues that relate to domestic violence. So it's like kind of our job to gain kind of like a sixth sense, whatever, like an intuition about it, and kind of see, like based on maybe their tone of voice or whatever, to see if they're being legit or if we can tell that they're making shit up, because sometimes you really can't tell. And in those instances, you can just refer them to, oh, is there a bug on my curtain? What the fuck? Y'all, I'm telling you, having plants, there are bugs. Also, it's summer, and I feel like bugs just like to act up. Well, it's almost summer. Yeah, so that's that. But the other part is like just being in shelter and helping out. So like I'm constantly needed as an advocate. You have to be available for people all the time, be emotionally ready to listen, to give advice if they need advice. But it's like we're also not counselors and therapists too, so it's a very strange kind of career, because like some people have degrees in social work, some people don't. I definitely don't. I have like 0 qualifications technically that would make me fit for this, but I did take a grant writing class in college, which is kind of what makes this full circle, because in art school there was some like art administration set of classes, and one of those was grant writing for nonprofits. So I took that, and then in that class I ended up writing about a domestic violence nonprofit. I didn't know why I picked that. I just kind of felt like I could make a good message around it, or I just felt drawn to it. I don't really know. So then I made like a program design surrounding that. I made an actual grant, like a grant you need to look for. I don't know, we don't need to get into the whole grant talk, but if you guys are interested in that, I could talk about it though. I've read books on it and I took a class on it, but basically like you seek a funding source and you propose to them. You have to do a proposal. So it's like you need to say like what the program is, how you're going to get it funded, like line item, like how much is it going to cost for the materials, for the people, for the whatever. Come up with like a plan, and then a sustainability plan. So if you get the money, how are you going to make sure that this like continues, that the work is good? And then you have to make like an evaluation plan to evaluate that. It has to be like quantifiable data. And how are you going to accomplish that? So, and then like the program design aspect of it, it could be like, okay, well, we want to host art groups for our survivors, or we want to take a field trip to the zoo for the kids. You can write a grant proposal for something like that and try to get that funding. So that is kind of how that seed was planted into my mind. And then post-graduation, I moved home for 6 months, I was like just sitting around assessing life, just relaxing. I don't even know, y'all. But then I started to apply for these kinds of jobs, these domestic violence kind of related jobs. I did want to get into art therapy at one point, so I was like, oh, maybe, because I didn't want to pay for a degree and have to go to school and all these different things. And technically where I'm at now, they have told me that if I want, I can have access to the sewing room and do whatever I want with that. I could hold groups with the women and come up with like an idea that I want to do and do that with them. So that's great. And hey, didn't even have to get my damn master's degree to do it. So there's loopholes in life. There's things that you can do to, wiggle your way in, if you will. So I guess that's just a little piece of advice. Like, I've seen so many girls on Facebook, because I still go on there sometimes, just, I don't know, I'm bored, y'all. But I'll go on there sometimes and I see like old classmates from high school or college graduating with their masters in social work or whatever, or they're like saying that they're starting school in that, and they're like, I can't wait to help people. It's like, baby, like, do you not realize like you could do what I did? Or I'm sure other people have taken different paths, and you can help people without having a degree in helping people, if that's what you want to do. I would say, like, I didn't volunteer, so that's not even a super huge requirement, qualification kind of thing, because some people's advice would probably be like, okay, well, go volunteer at the nonprofit that you want to get involved with. Sure, you can, but at the same time, there's not always a position available, so it's kind of like you need to just, like, get your foot in the door, so that kind of validates that, like, being a volunteer would get your foot in the door. But like, I didn't even do that. So I would just recommend like looking up on Google or whatever ad service for jobs to be like nonprofit jobs in healthcare, nonprofit jobs in whatever, animal welfare, like human services, like whatever area that you're interested in, and just start applying to those and just see, because they took a chance on me. And one of my coworkers actually told me, I just realized this has like little ridges. One of my coworkers told me, she's like, oh yeah, like the guy that hired me and they were in my interview, and she was like, you know why we hired you? And I was like, no. I was actually curious. I was like, why would they? Like, I didn't have any qualifications. And she's like, well, to be honest with you, I fought for you, girl. Like, he was asking my opinion on you, and I told him, hey, I don't know what her qualifications look like. I don't even know where she went to school. I don't know any of that, but I love her energy, and you can't teach someone how to be nice. You can't teach someone how to be caring, and she seems like those things. And it was literally my energy that got me the job. And to this day, I will say that's like my favorite part about it, I feel like, is my energy. Because sometimes I do feel inadequate at this job. Like, I don't have that like counseling type of brain to know what to say perfectly all the time. So a lot of the times I'll just be quiet and listen. But I think being a good listener is something that's a really big asset in itself. Like, if you're going through something really difficult, you don't always want someone to give you advice and to tell you what to do, or even be like, oh yeah, girl, that sucks, or oh, that must be so hard, I'm so sorry you're going through that. Sometimes people don't even want to hear that. So I feel like I'm that person that kind of just sits and listens. And yes, sometimes I do get insecure that I'm not doing enough, but they do keep coming back to me. They hug me at work, and one of my coworkers slash best friends, she tells the women all the time, she's like, love you, girl, I love you, I love you. And I've noticed myself starting to do that too, because technically you could be like, okay, well, that's maybe crossing a line, that's not professional, or that's not appropriate, or whatever, but it's just like, I love you as a person, like, bye, love you, like, have a good night, girl, like, whatever. Just saying that, it makes people feel like they're cared about, and that it's not like I'm on a pedestal you're the victim. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like, I'm trying to make it somewhat not to give them like their ego or whatever, or let them abuse like the time that they spend in the office. Like sometimes people will like, there's this one resident who will like go through the drawers and sit in the fancy like office chairs or whatever instead of like the stool, which we usually just use the stool for people to like come in and take their medication and like quick in and out. But like if they're gonna sit in a fancy chair, they're gonna think that they can sit around there for like ever, you know what I mean? So sometimes that can get to certain people's head and they think they're like besties and like on the same level in that way, which they can't be. They can't be abusing privileges and whatever. And like we have a basement with supplies in it, and sometimes the residents will like ask about it, like, ooh, what's in the basement? Will you take me to the basement? So they'll try to like play the game and play the system a little bit, because they're not allowed down there because it's like our stockpile, you know what I mean? Like they can't be down there. They'll just like take all the shit. It's just a rule that we have. So that's the only thing about like equal that I would say is not true, but I would say for me to step out and step down a little bit and to kind of meet them where they are is my point. And just by being like loving and caring and all these different things at that level, it humanizes me, I feel, and it makes me seem more like relatable. And I'm not gonna try to talk to them like it's very business transactional, because that is what this would be up here. This is like, oh, I work here. I don't want to talk to you, whatever. Does that make sense? I never want to make people feel like I'm better than them or I have more money than them or whatever, because like, I know this is gonna sound spoiled and crazy, but like I wore Lululemon shorts to work the other day and I had to think to myself for a while, oh my god, why did you do that? They're gonna look at the logo if they notice it and they're gonna be like, that's a rich girl, and then they'll get angry at me and then they'll have a certain opinion about me because of me having money compared to where they're at financially. And I pulled up to work in my car. I literally drive like early 2000s. No, not early 2000s. Like 2011 kind of car. And I love it. It's still doing great. Whatever. It's fine. But they are treating that like that's like a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW. You know what I'm saying? They're like, wow, what kind of car do you drive? We saw you pull up in that. And we're all like, I want that car. So it kind of makes me feel a little, it's like very humbling, and it reminds me like how good I do have it, because I wouldn't think twice about my car like that, but they don't even have a car, you know what I mean? So of course they're gonna think that my car is like grand poobah, crazy, amazing, woohoo. So it's just interesting. And there's another layer of like guilt, it's kind of that I have sometimes, not guilt, but like the fact that I get to be like, okay, bye, like I'm leaving, and then I get to go home to my nice apartment that's pretty expensive, like compared to anything that they could afford, right? And that's not to be whatever, but I feel bad, you know what I'm saying? So I try my best to not like always, yes, to remember who I am in the situation and in the scenarios, but I never try to like play myself up, if that makes sense. If anything, I try to strip myself down to be more equal, but at the same time that gets tricky because you can't be too much of an equal, because like they experience so much trauma and so much shit that like because of life circumstances and whatever, and they ended up there. They ended up in a domestic violence situation. I have not. You know? So it's like there's certain qualities about them, like I was mentioning earlier, the anger issues, the lying, the substance abuse, the like even like being a quote unquote bad mom, and like having like the child protective services being called on them. Like there's all different kinds of people, right? So technically, no, I'm not equal in that way, because because I have not been through that type of shit to kind of give me that like fight or flight, not crazy, like, you know what I'm saying? So I need to almost set an example, and that's the part that's kind of hard, because right now I'm treating it more like they're my friend or I'm their friend, you know what I mean? So I'm very liked, I'm very kind of neutral. I'm not trying to be a dictator and tell them what to do and be very harsh in that way. Some of my coworkers are more like that than me. They seem more professional in that sense. But I like to pride myself on the fact that I'm not. And they do come to me and they do open up about more to me because they know I'm not going to like judge them or give them a crazy repercussion or whatever. So, but I do need to work on being an advocate in that way and setting a good example of what do healthy boundaries look like. Kind of like a counseling energy a little bit. Not that I'm on a pedestal and that I'm the perfect example, but just like to step up like a little bit to like lead and guide and show them the way in some capacity. Like that's something that I would like to work on as I get more into the job. So, if you guys are interested in more like talk on that kind of topic, I do have a Patreon and I make all kinds of stuff over there, but there are some videos of me talking about like whenever I first started, there's like a training, I think I called it like training update or something like that. Like I had a mental breakdown my first day. I talk about that in that video. I give more updates over on there about my work because it's very raw and real and like personal, and I want to get better about sharing it on here. But for now, if you do want to go check that out, there are videos on my Patreon regarding that. Like talking more about specific residents, obviously not name dropping or anything crazy, I'm not stupid, but just more of their situation to kind of give you an idea of the kinds of things that I see and work with. So, another aspect about it that I didn't realize is that there's a lot more medical related things, like they come to the front office to take medicines and stuff. Yes, so if they're sick or whatever, their kids are snotty and throwing up or whatnot, there's a chance of me getting that. So it's very much like daycare vibes, and that's probably my least favorite. Oh, for sure it is. My least favorite part of the job is that, like, worrying all the time about being sick, getting sick, XYZ. So that's tough. Also, it's also kind of EMS, medical TV show vibes. It's like they're gonna come to you with an asthma attack, they can't breathe, their inhalers are not working, they've been trying their inhalers for 30 minutes, and you've got to call 911 for them. I had to do that the other day. And then the next shift that I came in, that same person was having 911 called again because of their medical situation. And sometimes someone's leg is screwed up and they fell a week ago and they let it swell up and get nasty, but they didn't want to go to the doctor, but now they like really need to go. So then we'll have to call non-emergency police to get the ambulance out. So there's a lot of like serving them in that way that I wasn't expecting. There's also the possibility of overdosing. So we've got plenty of Narcan in the drawers, and that is very triggering and scary. And I have not had to do that yet, but my friends at work have had to do that fairly recently too. And then they need to like call out for the next couple of days because it's traumatizing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of aspects about this job that I'm going to start going to therapy in June once I don't have a second job. Just, you know, because I work 6 days a week now. Oh gosh, my hair. I work 6 days a week now, so I'm waiting to go once I have my days off again. And then I'll go to therapy. And then I will try to work through this issue that I have with having a fear of people throwing up, having a fear of like 911 related medical concerns, like just the anxiety of having to deal with that. I'm not a police, I'm not an EMS worker, I'm not a nurse, but at times it feels like we need to deal with that. Sometimes people devices to the shelter, aka a knife or something like that. So we need to put it in a safe. But again, people aren't always honest. We don't pat down, body check you. So there's a lot of things that can slip through the cracks. People can bring drugs in, they're not supposed to, but how are we gonna know? You know what I mean? So it's just a very sensitive type of environment to work in. There's a lot going on all the time. People are constantly needing you. Sometimes I'm even the dish girl. I gotta clean the damn dishes. Sometimes the chef gets fired and the advocates have to help cook dinner for 2 weeks. Like, just stuff like that. It's very much a family. We love each other for the most part, but there are always like favorites and, you know, people kind of buddying up. Not only the residents doing that, there's like bestie friend groups within the residents, but there's also that same dynamic within the employees, the advocates do. So it's kind of like you always have to be on edge in a way, because people are going to talk about you. People are not going to like the way you do things if they're not your bestie. Like, there's just, I don't know, y'all. That's just that. But yeah, I know I just now got to the book. But that's pretty much it for now. Let me know in the comments what specifically you guys are interested in about this job, and if you guys like want me to answer questions about it in a dedicated video, whether it's about working in nonprofit, questions about night shift, things like that. I might make another video at some point or make a post like asking for that, but for now that's it. Let me know y'all's, you know, what do you think about that? What do you think about my job? What do you think about the work I do? What do you think about that crazy shit that I gotta go through? I don't know. Overall, I'm so happy and blessed, and again, I will make another video talking about it more in depth, or like the impact that it's had on me and such, but I just wanted to make a quick little update telling you guys where I've been, and why I haven't been giving as much of myself, because I feel drained, or just, I don't know. I don't even know, y'all. That's just it. That's just it. So, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening and supporting me, even throughout the times where I've only posted once a week or once every 2 weeks. You guys are the best. I love you all, and I will talk to you all